The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
At that time they sent to Jesus some of the Pharisees and some of the Herodians to trap him in his talk. And they came and said to him, "Teacher, we know that you are true and do not care about anyone's opinion. For you are not swayed by appearances, but truly teach the way of God. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or should we not?" But knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, "Why put me to the test? Bring me a denarius and let me look at it." And they brought one. And he said to them, "Whose likeness and inscription is this?" They said to him, "Caesar's." Jesus said to them, "Give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." And they marveled at him. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Is it lawful to pay taxes or not? This was a trick question meant to trap Jesus. But Jesus is not going to walk into that trap. Several parties debated the payment of taxes. Of the two groups that appear in the text today, we have the Herodians and the Pharisees. The Herodians were those who were loyal to Herod, those who cooperated with the Romans and so freely paid taxes, pro-Roman. The Pharisees were anti-Roman. They objected, but nonetheless paid the taxes. Now this was meant to be a trick question, besides all the flattery that preceded it. Now if Jesus said yes, we should pay taxes, he would be seen by the Jews and the Pharisees as a collaborator with the Roman occupying power. If he said no, it would go against the Romans, and Jesus would be seen as instigating a revolt against the Roman Empire. So the two opposing groups, the Herodians and the Pharisees, come together on the basis of the element that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Isn't such political opportunism present even today in all countries of the world? People will switch political loyalty on the basis of personal gain or threat of being imprisoned for corruption or other crimes. Give to Caesar what is Caesar, and give to God what is God's. Something that Jesus' statement establishes two separate realities, Caesar's and God's, and that people should give each to what they ask in their respective worlds. Now, this interpretation strikes many persons as a good expression of the principle of the separation of the political nation and religion. The danger is to think that to Caesar and the nation belongs material realities, and to God and to religion belong spiritual realities. The danger is in compartmentalizing our life, believing that one part belongs to Caesar and another part belongs to God. We must respect civil laws of the state that we live in. But there can be no part-time observance or a separate area of our lives that belongs to God. The difficulty comes in the details. Just exactly what belongs to the government and what belongs to God. To understand the argument of Jesus, I would like to point out that the key word here is image. Jesus asks them to provide a coin and to identify the image and the name on the coin. Now the coin had the image of the Caesar, the Roman emperor, and the words were Filius Divus, the Son of God. Imagine that. The Roman ruler saw himself as God. Now, the word for image in Greek is icon, and it appears in the book of Genesis. We are created in the image of God. Now, Jesus' response to these two groups indicates that they should give Caesar this coin, for it bears his image. on the same basis. They should give to God who what bears the divine image, namely themselves. For like everyone else, we are all created in the image and the likeness of God. Caesar, the government, has jurisdiction, but it is limited and temporal. God has total sovereignty. In straight terms, money and taxes might belong to Caesar, but our life belongs to God because we are created in God's image and likeness. Now, Jesus raises the debate to a new level. Jesus relativizes the authority of Caesar, the ruler. Those who have hypocritically asked about tax in respect to the relation to the law of God should be concerned rather with the larger issue of accountability to God for their lives. Caesar and God, it must be clear, are not on the same level, because Caesar too depends on God and must answer to God and to the people. God is sovereign over all, including Caesar. We are not divided between two loyalties. Now, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God can be so easily misunderstood and misinterpreted, and often it is. It can be used to emphasize control and order and to fall in line with the state policies, whether they are right or wrong, moral or immoral, just or unjust. Sometimes it is a subtle or direct way of saying that religion is a private matter and should stay out of the public domain. Religion cannot be a private matter. Insofar as I am a citizen, I am not just that. I am a citizen who believes in God. While I do not bring my devotional practices into public, the value system from my faith, which is universal, cannot be private. What I believe and proclaim on Sunday must be lived and practiced for the rest of the week. This shapes my values and my worldview, but I am conscious that I am one among other people of other faiths and no faith. Now, there is an insistence on religion-state separation, a good thing when we are a secular democracy and not a theocracy like Pakistan or Saudi Arabia or Bhutan, especially if we are to avoid the twin dangers of having a state-sponsored religion or to give in to majoritarianism. The state or the government exists for the common good of all people in society. But in reality, the temptation is not always so. The political leaders of government can pass laws which discriminate on the basis of language or region or religion or whatever, and which does not respect the equal rights and dignities of all its citizens. Every law of the state which is passed may not always be good, true, or just. So we have a law which says that abortion is legal, but it is the law of God that says that it is murder. Simply put, what is legal may not always be moral and does not therefore demand our acceptance. Our obedience, our giving to Caesar is relative and must always be seen in our response in the light of what we must give to God. What if that Caesar is Hitler or Stalin or a tyrant or a fascist encouraging hatred or demonizing people who are different from the rest? What if there is a Caesar who divides people on the basis of caste, religion, language, dress, or food habits? There is more. Sometimes there's an unholy connection between the government and religion. Unscrupulous politicians will use religion to support their political ideology, sadly and painfully, and not always for the good of the people. Unscrupulous religious leaders, gurus, godmen will use politics and politicians to protect their personal and financial interests, all the while using the cover of religion with the protection of politicians. The church as an institution cannot be into party politics or aligned with a political party. Cardinal Jaime Sin of Manila, the late cardinal, he said, a church that is married to a government will become a widow when that government falls. As faithful citizens who pay taxes, we must have a say in the governance of the country, how politics is run for the good of all people, people of all faiths and even people with no faith. In today's gospel, what began as an attempt to trap Jesus became for Jesus a teaching moment of what it means to live our lives and what it means to work for God's kingdom. It is only in this context that we understand the depth of Jesus' response to the groups who came to trap him. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Give to God what belongs to God. The words of Jesus remain our guiding principle. We give to God what belongs to God, and we give to society and to the state what it has a right to ask of us, our cooperation in making this a place that is guided by principles and values of the constitution of the land and of God's kingdom, values of justice, equality, and dignity for all people, no matter what language, region, religion, caste, or culture. To do anything less is to fail to give everything to God, because we are created in the image of God. All people, not of the Caesar or the local ruler, who are temporary. Only God is eternal. Caesar will get our taxes for the functioning of the state, but to God belongs our life.